leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son, actions over words, baby boy, is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back
First in the building. Ill Status Boxing on deck. What's good? Salute to you. Appreciate you pulling up, man, and hitting the like button. It's all support, good support. One love to you, brother. Big shout out to everyone else that may be inbound and listen in to your boy WCS. This is MMA Boxing Fight Recap, episode 09. You already know what it is. Over. Let's get down to it. Big shout out to the supporters. Keep on supporting the channel. Fight recap. The big deal last night, of course, Canelo Alvarez, man. Earned his 59th victory. Saul Canelo Alvarez. Saul Canelo Alvarez. One of this era's biggest stars. You know what I'm saying? He earned his 59th victory. And you know what? You got to salute him. Because when it comes down to it, he came off surgery and he stepped in there with a guy like John Ryder, who seemed to be and shown that he was a game opponent. He touched the canvas once during this 12-round fight and made it back to his feet to fight on to the final bell. I respect that. I respect his warrior spirit. I respect his toughness. And I respect the fact that he chose not to lay down just because he faced adversity in this fight. You know what I'm saying? So I respect that. Absolutely. What does this do for Canelo? Well, let me first say this. Man, how great must it feel to get a ring intro like Canelo and to have fireworks and everything just going off in Guadalajara, Mexico? Like, man, come on, man. You're talking about a human being in celebration. This is not a championship fight like Canelo was fighting Usyk for the heavyweight unified titles or something. This was him defending his title against a world ranked opponent, an opponent that a lot of people just didn't give him the same intensity as his tag, the Gorilla. People wasn't, gravitating to him like that, but he was able to get, right there in the middle. They kind of feeling the dude, but they not. They don't know too much about him to give him full credit, to say he's going to be a threat to Canelo Alvarez. But he showed that he was tough, though. From my understanding, his nose was busted up, broken some. I'm not sure what round, but at some point during the fight, his nose did get busted. And with any full contact sport, if you're talking about facial features and you're talking about the nose, that is one of the worst areas or components on your facial structures that you want to be damaged early in the fight, especially in a boxing match. You know what I'm saying? It can be bad. It can be extremely bad. It'd be very painful, and depending on who's the opponent or who's the operator, it has to deal with that. You might get somebody else to take a knee. You might get somebody to just totally give up, or like John Ryder did, he fought on. So I salute him for that, man. I salute him for that. Real talk. But Canelo pulled it off like we expected him to do. A lot of people's gonna say and give their criticism, their pros and cons, their checks and X's on how they think or where they think Canelo is at right now in his career. Do they think he's washed over the hill? I don't think so. I'm gonna be honest, bro. Canelo, to me, when you fight on elite level, you expect to get punched in the face, right? So just because he didn't look and go out there and act like he was putting it all on the line, you know what I'm saying, by all means necessary approach, doesn't mean he couldn't have turned it up. I've seen fighters come in here and fight to the level of their opposition. I've seen it several times. Canelo has a potential match with Bivol in the midst, right? It's somewhere on the horizon, somewhere, somehow, you know, he's put it out there that he wants to fight Dimitri Bivol, the 175-pound champion, WBA world champion. Canelo say, we want the rematch with Bivol. Same rules, same everything. All right. And I've been on record as saying that Canelo wasn't afforded the opportunity when Floyd Mayweather clinicked him. You know, we just recently seen that article where Team Canelo, Eddie Reynoso, he must have bumped his head getting outside, you know, going through the ropes, tripped and fell, and, you know, and bumped his head outside the ring. But they said that Floyd offered him $1 million at 18 years old. But they said, no, wait, you'll be way more money than that. Give it time. Be patient. Humble yourself. You pass on it now, you would absolutely benefit from it in 5 years. You know what it is. We'll be rich. That wasn't the case. But the fact is that he did step in there with Floyd Mayweather, and he was dominated. He was taught a boxing lesson, and I'm pretty sure from that curriculum, Canelo Alvarez was educated. He learned a lot. And for a long stint of time, Floyd Mayweather was the only fighter to ever beat Canelo Alvarez. But now that has since changed. That has since changed, people. Canelo Alvarez still have Dimitri Bivol on his mind. You remember that song? Georgia, Georgia, Georgia on my mind. Georgia, you remember that song? That's sort of what the tune is like for Canelo Alvarez with Dimitri Bivol. It's pretty fresh. He fought Dimitri Bivol back in 2022. You know what I'm saying? I believe it was around May, if I'm not mistaken. May of 2022. And he lost a unanimous decision. Now, a lot of us seen that fight go down the same. Dimitri was very smart in his approach. He took risks when he needed to, but didn't overextend the risks. When he was able to land his combinations and push Canelo back, he didn't choose to close distance and get too close where Canelo can possibly land some damaging shots in the clinch or, you know what I'm saying, uppercuts or hooks. You know what I'm saying? He didn't put himself in a position where the momentum that he just was able to establish, it was all taken away because Canelo was able to land some solid, effective punches based off him getting a little bit too over anxious and stand on the inside too long. Dmitry Bivol is a smart fighter. And for his size, he fights like a big man. It doesn't matter who's in front of him. Dmitry Bivol has shown that he's extremely unintimidated by the likes of Canelo Alvarez. Even though Canelo's stature and everything, they're fighters that are grace to square with him and choose to have a conversation with him in the middle of the fight. And, ask him, hey, I'm not bad. How do I look? I'm not that bad, huh? But at this point in time, right, Canelo is putting it out there that he wants it. I think with him, he has to prove to himself that the individuals that beat him, he didn't have the opportunity with Floyd, but he has the opportunity with Bivol at a higher weight class. And I think it's fair for Bivol to sustain himself at the 175-pound division. It's only right. Why weight drain it and basically reduce the appraising value if you're able to get a win over Dmitry Bivol by having him drain down to 168? Because we already know, Canelo has these rehydration history. You know what I'm saying? This catalog is accessible to anyone. They can find out the information. But when it comes down to this fight in particular, you lost at 175. Bivol made it perfectly clear he wants to stay at 175. So to hear Canelo say same rules, same everything, I like that fight. I like Canelo taking a risk. I like him going up there trying to play his hand once again and see if he's able to pick up this win against Bivol. He's already a Hall of Famer. He's already one of the greats of this era. Regardless of the positive drug test, yes, that's out there. That will always be public information. Well, let's be honest. His resume is what it is. His once his flyer comes out and they announce his next fight, people do tune in now. He's at a point where people are going to tune in regardless of who's across the ring from him. Even that trilogy with Gennady Golovkin, we're like, huh? Why? You've had like 7 to 8 fights in between the rematch. Why do anyone wants to watch this fight? And it's been so long. Every bit of how you put it, every bit of attention or every bit of fire that was still burning from people's curiosity if Triple G can come back, it was out the window. You know what I'm saying? Because he had fights where he looked everything but, a world beater. He just looked old and slow and no real interest like it was when you all fought the first time and then in the rematch. But people still tuned in, bro. People still tuned in. So for Canelo, he's established what he's earned. He's established it on many levels. He's earned it. He's established every time he steps in the ring, people pay attention. The Mexican fans pay attention. They love this guy. This man has made millions upon millions upon millions. And he's got to go in there and prove that he can rematch the second only fighter to defeat him. He can go in there and get that victory. He can redeem himself. He can erase that one victory that Bivol was able to edge him out in dominating fashion. He's got to come up and not make any excuses. I'm hearing the little excuses come out now. I don't like it. I don't like the excuses. I know a lot of fighters, they'll wait, and then say, oh, well, this is happening. And I like that better than speaking about it at the post-fight. I like when they wait a little bit, but I don't like it when you're choosing to fight a particular name again that has handed you a loss. And all of a sudden you're going to come up and say, oh, on that night, my hand was messed up. I had a hand injury. I'm like, when did this come about? I mean, I know Canelo had surgery. But when did this come about? Do you want to fight him in 175? Fight him in 175 and leave everything else alone. We don't need for you pulling out information that no one can attest before that. That, yeah, you had an injury and that's the reason why you didn't get the job done. Bro, you look like you was punching just fine to me. It looked like you had the game plan and you was going off the offensive strategy to try to, get the win over Bivol, but he was just too strong, too smart. You know what I'm saying? Too active. He just didn't play your game. And all that punching him in his left arm, it didn't work. So shout out to Canelo for getting this win. I want to see him back in there with Bivol. You know what I'm saying? I do. I want to see him back in there with Bivol. John Ryder on Canelo Alvarez. He was a very good fighter. He was very good. I think he's probably past his best, but he still had enough in his tank tonight. That's John Ryder giving Canelo Alvarez his flowers, so to speak. His diamonds or two. You know what I'm saying? And good for him. But, he didn't do enough to make us think otherwise, that when they went to the scorecards, he was going to be read as the winner. No, we didn't think those results were going to be anywhere close to that, Ryder. But you did well for yourself. Real talk. I mean, you're a tough dude, man. You're a tough dude. And you have Canelo, like many other fighters, you have Canelo on your resume. You do. You have Canelo on your resume. Let me get to the chat. What's going on with the chat, man? Shaw News, the Sauce Experience, a.k.a. Showtime, Shaw Team Tucker in the building. What's good with it, brother? How you feeling? He said, but Canelo is washed up. They both beat Danny Jacobs. John Ryder's a tough dude. Yes, sir. He showed that he didn't go in there to lay down, bro. He looked good to me. WCS got them pipes. Comeback was good. Big Blunts and boxing on deck. What's good with the Blunts on this Sunday? Bivol say he want the challenge. Bivol don't want it if it ain't 168. Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more. Salute to your OG. What's good with it? Well, Bivol has every right to stand his ground and don't fold under the status quo of Canelo Alvarez. You feel me? Don't go up here and say, oh, well, I have to accommodate Canelo. No, you don't. Canelo has had a lot of accommodations in his career. That's why he is where he is. He's earned a lot of what people give him credit for. He's been in there with the best. You know what I'm saying? Gennady Golovkin, for some reason, when he was being trained by Abel Sanchez, he wanted to say, I'm coming in there with the Mexican style. And I was like, for real? I just didn't see the Mexican style when it showed up. When they showed up, I didn't see the Mexican style. I seen it from Canelo. But you can't put that label on a fight with a Mexican and say, I want the Mexican style. And then you in there with a Mexican who gives you the Mexican style and you give him some other style. You know what I'm saying? A style that's not even causing him to second guess himself in some of the exchanges. He's coming forward. You're not coming forward. You know what I'm saying? I remember Jim Lampley hyping Gennady Golovkin up so much. Like, this man was a freaking Terminator. You know what I'm saying? He can't be beat. Did you see the combination? I mean, he can throw a combination and a 5-punch combination. None of them landed. But only if Jim Lampley was outside the apron. Oh, my God. Did you see him just blister with a 5-punch combination? Breaking down the physical anatomy and structure and the confidence of his opposite. I swear, Jim Lampley, boy, I know Gennady was super hyped when Jim Lampley was ringside, because he's going to he was able to hear Lampley overemphasize what was actually playing out in the ring. You know what I'm saying? I want to give a big shout out to my boy Showtime, man. I see you out there doing your thing, man. Like I always tell you, when a person is provided with something, you know what I'm saying, and they take it and you don't really give them 10 things to go along with it for them to grow that situation. You know what I'm saying? You just give them that one. You take it and run with it, and then you go and and break it up to all these other branches. You know what I'm saying? Somewhat like the tree of life. That's called leadership, bro. And I salute you for being a leader in life. You continue to grow and do what you got to do. I like how you change levels on the media game and dispersing videos, disseminating videos out there because they're all over the timeline. You know what I'm saying? It's good you found a second way on how to put Jihad's name out there, put the gym name out there. You know what I'm saying? Also your brand and what you have going on. You know what I'm saying? That's saying that you're not a lazy individual. You know what I'm saying? Hey, the way I was growing up, they call that go-getters. You're proving you're a go-getter. You know what I'm saying? Continue to do what you do, man. Yeah, man. No doubt. I give you your salute on that. Keep on running them down, stepping on them, and keep on progressing, bro. But let's get to to be honest with you, before I transition off this Canelo, to be honest with you, I would like to see Canelo fight one of the beggars before he get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? You know how WCS do it. I would like him to fight one of the beggars, one of the hitchhikers, because they've been having their thumb out for quite some time. And Canelo hasn't slowed down. He might have been a limo or whatever. He might have been chauffeured around and he cracked the window open and he looked over there. No, I'm saying go. He probably saw Charlo on the side with his thumb out. You know what I'm saying? He probably saw Spence. He probably saw these fighters that want to fight him. I just want him to give one of these fighters an opportunity. Even Demetrius Andrade, you know what I'm saying? Give one of these fighters, man, an opportunity before you hang up the gloves that's been begging to fight you. Whether it's both Charlos, whether it's Spence, whether it's freaking Andrade, man, I just want to see one of these fighters have the opportunity to go in there and up their level, and especially the numero uno fighter of all, David Benavidez. I don't consider David a beggar. I'm talking about the ones I mentioned before. David Benavidez, he's in the division actually, and Canelo, in my opinion, should consider to give this man a shot because you was able to scoop up his title without ever stepping in the ring with him. He was never beat for that title. So we can continue to say, well, you was up here doing this and that in the pandemic and you was missing weight and you was being reckless and you was on drugs. Listen, that is in the past. Before Canelo hangs it up, I would truly like to see him fight David Benavidez. I would definitely like to see that fight. I don't want to see David Benavidez and David Morrell. I don't want to see that, bro. I don't care how many people look, man, we've been around boxing too long. We know certain fighters that can basically be a result of high cost and inflation and paying for opponents to build up their resume. We get it. But no one's ever going to convince me, man. You're not going to convince me in a sober state. You're not going to convince me at happy hour. I'll give me another one. Just give me the bottle. I pay for the bottle. You're not going to convince me that Yamaguchi Falco was that guy, that silent killer. No one's going to convince me that Yamaguchi was coming in there to lay it down, to let the world know who he was and how dangerous of a fighter he could be with any top contender. No, you're not going to do that. Dude looked like he just got out, from looking at a soccer game and they stopped by freaking, what's that place? Sonic, and got a burger or something and one of those big ass Slurpees that they got up in there. And then he came to the ring, man. Like, no, he wasn't ready. His level of competition that he's faced wasn't nowhere on the scale of facing Dave Morrell. And also the opponent before that he put in hospital. Dude was too tough for his own good. He's extremely outmatched. His corner should have threw in the towel. but they let that man get beat on, and he may not ever be the same moving forward in his life, bro. Dave Morrell beat that dude. He beat him bad, something dirty, and I hope he's doing okay. But to be honest, when I was looking at that fight, y'all, real talk, it took me back to Subriel Matias and Devin, what's his name, Maxim Dedashev, the Russian who died, man, who was over here trying to fight and make money and feed his family. It took me back to that moment, and I was seeing how bad that dude was getting beat. It took me to Maxim Dedashev, but the only thing was missing is that when I saw Buddy McGirt go in there and plead with his fighter and say, no, Max, I got to stop it, Max. You're taking too much punishment, Max. No, Max. I was looking for Dave Morrell's opponent to get in there and have a one-on-one with their fighter and tell him, there's no way you're going to beat this guy. There's no way. This guy doesn't show any signs of faltering, wavering. He's looking strong every round. I'm going to stop the fight. They should have gave him that. But no, they let him get beat down to the point where David had to help that guy back over to his corner. And then he ended up going to the hospital in a coma. And look, that's the harshest side of boxing when it comes down to it. That is the most ominous part, when a fighter is too tough for their own good and their corner is too selfish to throw in the towel. Trainers have to go through it. Sometimes they don't want to get fired. But in that case, every one of them should have said, you know what, forget employment. It's time for us to save our fighter's life and throw in the freaking towel. You already know what it is. Let's talk about the situation that took place. But before I get to that, Tony Ferguson, man, who's, well-known fighter in the UFC, been in there with some of the best, but it's crazy because his name was attached. And this is, a guy who was not on the UFC 288 card, and we get into that. But this was a guy who was slated to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. And for a time period, people were looking at it as if his style could potentially hand Khabib his first loss. He was that talented, that awkward of a fighter, that dangerous, that time after time when this fight was scheduled, it was canceled, scheduled, canceled, all the way up to a total of 5 times, y'all, that he was supposed to step in the cage when Khabib was an active fighter to face this man. It was canceled. A bad omen. It became an omen because if he would have had the opportunity, you don't know what could have happened with his style, Khabib's style. We don't know what could have happened in that fight. Because at that time, Tony was still proving himself to be amongst the elite in mixed martial arts. So what happened, he ended up facing Justin Gaethje for that final moment. Finally, he gets the opportunity for a title eliminator. Finally, he faced the highlight reel Justin Gaethje, who y'all probably know him from the World Series of Fighting. Came over here and fought nothing but tough opposition, right? He gets in there, and Justin Gaethje has one of the best performances that I've ever seen him in when it came to his punching. Because everybody who knows Justin Gaethje, he gets hit a lot. And in this fight, from an awkward, eccentric fighter like Tony Ferguson, he pummeled Tony Ferguson to the point where Tony had to quit. He had to bow out. Justin Gaethje couldn't miss the target. Ever since then, man, he hasn't been able to recover because that was his fight to finally step into the cage with Khabib Nurmagomedov. Gaethje would be the one who has the fight, who has the golden ticket, and he would get submitted in the second round. But it's the fact of him having the opportunity to step in there with an undefeated legend like Khabib Nurmagomedov, unlike some fighters, And they look at this as a missed opportunity, man. It just wasn't meant to be. But with that said, Tony had situations play out where the police was called on him, domestic situation with his wife, whatever. He felt that someone had implanted a chip in him, that he was being followed, all the stuff. Tony has taken damage in his career. CT is real, all that. And he was going through it for a minute, and then he returned back to the cage. I mean, he's really trying to get his rhythm back. But, he ended up taking some losses. I really think that his body was already on edge, as far as medically. I just think he had other things going on. But when he went in there and took that beating from Gaethje, he hadn't been the same since, really. He's been taking losses, but he just was in a serious situation where he flipped his truck. He ran into two vehicles, and supposedly it's a DWI, a DUI, DWI. He flipped and wrecked his truck. Of course, he refused to take a blood or a field sobriety test, and we'll see how that plays out. But that's not a good look for Tony, and I'm not sure if it's going to make a difference with him ever fighting the UFC again. You know what I'm saying? It's been fighters in there do worse than that. You know what I'm saying? Look at John Jones. He has an issue, and he may have to go through legal ramifications outside and go through the court system, but they always let him come back through that door to fight another day. And I just think if it's not that bad, he didn't injure or kill nobody. He's gonna be back in the cage sooner or later. But I hope him the best, though. I hope him the best, because he's gonna need it for real. Let's talk about UFC 288, man. The legacy fight that went down. I mean, the story behind these guys is crazy, bro. You know what I'm saying? The adversity of Aljamain Sterling on the back-to-back losses that I spoke on when he was trying to put himself in title contention. It's funny, right? How how certain windows in life look like it's perfect. Like you see what you want. You right there. You on the cusp of getting it. You on the cusp. This is what I've been waiting on. And then it fails you. You know what I'm saying? You're not able to cross over and take that next step into entry for the experience. You know what I'm saying? And then you start to question, well, if everything looked perfect to get here, why couldn't I move forward and cross the finish line, or basically go through that door to what I was hoping for? Because everything has worked out perfectly for me. Well, for Aljamain, everything was working out pretty decent. You know what I'm saying? Everything was working out pretty decent for him. He went up here and had two back-to-back losses back in 2016, right? And not too big of a deal. But, some fighters, they have so much hype and they with certain coaches. He had a back-to-back loss against Brian Caraway and Rafael Sunsao. But the Marlon Moraes situation in 2017 December, that was the one that in my opinion, when I was watching that fight, that was the one that really drove a stake a bit. Drove that stake through the heart of Aljamain, not all the way through it, but enough for him to feel the pain. Because I think he could have beat Marlon Moraes, but a mistake with a switch hitter like Moraes and able to land when Jermaine was kind of being complacent. You know what I'm saying? He was trying to, it seems like he didn't take the fight all the way serious to go in there and try to run over this dude. And sometimes when you hang around too long or do things without a sense of urgency, a switch hitter like Moraes will make you pay. And I still remember when Aljamain just took his time standing up from the canvas and Moraes landed that left kick to the head, how he stiffened up. He stiffened up just like a board. Boom, knocked out cold, done. And this is in round one, y'all. This is wasn't in round 4, 5, and all this. This is in round 1. That fight right there, I was really looking at it like, hey, can he recover from this? Will Jermaine or Aljamain be the same? You know what I'm saying? Because everybody fight is different. But that was the last time he would lose. And he's pretty much went on, I think, a 8-fight win streak. I told you how he's the only fighter that I know of to become a champion, and they refused to put him on the pound for pound list in attendance because of how he won the title. You know what I'm saying? He was playing a little ground game. He wasn't feeling the best. And, he was just, staying with one knee and one hand on the ground. And people kind of looked at it like, yeah, you play with fire, you get burned. You know what I'm saying? You play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. I wouldn't say he was playing stupid prizes. I believe he totally was not feeling the way he should. So he was just in between time trying to figure out what next. But Peter Yan's corner gave him the command to land that knee strike. Then Peter, he's the fighter. He's supposed to know what the commands that he's given and the data that he's collecting. He should be able to make the decision like, he's a downed opponent. What are they telling me to knee him? What do you mean? So what did the Peter Yan? He kneed the man. Aljamain rolled backwards. The referee stopped the fight. He assessed the situation. And, of course, he had to call time and talking to people, this, that, and the other. And he was going to give Jermaine, being it was an illegal strike, he was going to give him time to recover. But knee to the head, I'm telling you, anybody who got knee to the head, bro, it doesn't take much. But you're talking about elite strikers like Peter Yan, knee striking a guy who's not moving, who wasn't prepared to get kneed in the head. At first, I was critical of Aljamain. I thought he was faking him a bit until I went back and watched the fight over and over again. And I know how that feeling is like to get kneed in the head. You're talking about bone to bone. But the component for which you are kneeing has your primary headquarters, your brain, attached to it. And we all know neurologically that can be devastating. So when he couldn't continue, people were saying that he was faking. He wasn't shit. You ain't nothing. I mean, he took an extremely amount of backlash. I'm talking about Timothy Bradley backlash. Like, I'm talking about, man, people was on him, man. They didn't like nothing about how he got that title. It wasn't like Peter Yan was the damn number one Conor McGregor in the UFC. It was like, no, man, you got that title the wrong way. It wasn't moral what you did. You faked it. You faked it till you made it. You could have continued. Just like I always mention with the Pritchard Cologne situation. They was up there talking about, he need an Emmy. He need an Oscar. Oh, he's faking it. He's faking it. And what? Ever since that fight, that man has been in a vegetative state. You know what I'm saying? It's sad. You know what I'm saying? It's sad that as humans, sometimes naturally we get it wrong when we take our eye test. We get it wrong. And, a lot of us got it wrong with Aljamain and him not being able to continue. But the fact still remains, Peter Yan landed an illegal strike. He goes back and fights Peter Yan in a rematch and dominates him, bro. Dominates him. I mean, his ground game, you can see it. His strength throughout the fight. You can see it play out. He did everything he's supposed to. He beat the man. And then he came and beat the former bantamweight champion, TJ Dillashaw, who was a common opponent of the guy he faced last night in Henry Cejudo. I told you the story about that already. Long story short, Henry Cejudo talked himself out of a high dollar fight. So they said, forget it. We're going up here to TJ Dillashaw bantamweight, and we're going to try our best to shut this division down. Rumor was they wanted to do away with the 125-pound division. So this was supposed to be the fight to do it. So they paid TJ Dillashaw the ticket to do it himself. And word was that if it would have happened, TJ would have won. They would have pretty much faced out the 125 flyweight division. Well, guess what? He knocked him out in the first round, man. Henry Cejudo knocked TJ Dillashaw out cold in the first round. Cold. TJ lost his 135-pound bantamweight title. He tested positive for EPO. He was suspended for 2 years. And then you're talking about the extreme. Oh, he's a dirty fighter. I mean, you're talking about your compeers. Your mixed martial arts compeers turn their back on you. Oh, they turn their back on him quick. He went through it, y'all. And see, when it comes to TJ Dillashaw, man, karma, as much as I don't like using it, karma met him face to face. Because this is the same guy who did not let Uriah Faber, a mixed martial arts legend, right? He did not let him know that he was shopping around to leave Team Alpha Male and go over there and allow Dwayne Ludwig to be his coach. And he didn't tell nobody nothing. But you know who did try to let Uriah Faber know? Conor McGregor. He called TJ a snake in the grass before all this came to light. And sure enough, found out TJ Dillashaw was over there. And you want to talk about leaving a team? Uriah Faber scouted you when you was in freaking high school? He scouted you as a wrestler? He brought you onto it and raising you up like a family would? And you jumped ship without even giving that man the courtesy to say, hey, I'm leaving. I'm out. Man, karma came back and got his ass. But last night, man, Henry Cejudo came in there as the challenger. He came out of retirement just like John Jones, bro. He wasn't forced into retirement. John Jones wasn't forced into retirement. John Jones nor Henry Cejudo lost prior to going into retirement. But Henry Cejudo was one of those fighters who people wanted to see step back in the cage because of what he did prior to leaving. He looked dominant. He was able to come champ. He was coming off the damn the energy, bro. The electricity. The last man to defeat Demetrius Johnson. He did what he's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? He came in there for a rematch and defeated Mighty Mouse, got the victory. Then KO TJ Dillashaw. Now he's in here with the current reigning defending champion, Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain has faced his adversity. He's went on an 8-fight win streak. And now he's back to face the man who used to be the man. And a lot of people thought he was still the man. So what they say? Dana White and them, let's make the fight. They made the fight. And it didn't really spark the way we thought, because you're talking about two intelligent strikers who have a wrestling pedigree, grappling pedigree, and dangerous enough striking when it comes to their punches for the fight to be somewhat equalized the way it was. Like, there were takedowns. Aljamain earned 4 takedowns to Cejudo's 3, I believe. But it was points in the fight where you thought, okay, now the second round is going to get a little bit more intense. We're going to see a lot more action, a lot more blood. It didn't happen. Third round. So by the third round, you're saying to yourself, okay, this is just a technical fight. This is very important that Aljamain, who defended his title 2 times already, it was very important for him to apply his strategy safely, but not to the point where people start to boo. Because you want to continue to be champion. That's where the money is at. You didn't want Henry Cejudo to take your title and then retire again and say, I proved it. So Aljamain had to go in there with intelligence, man, and defend his title for a third time. And he earned takedowns. You know, both of the fighters landed some punches here and there. But when it came to that, Aljamain edged the numbers when it came to punches landed. He was able to, get some takedowns, land some very solid knees. And the reason is that, that is the way Demetrius Johnson beat him the first time, by knees to the body. So why not look at the film and say, well, if DJ, a much smaller fighter, was able to hurt Henry Cejudo with knees, I'm going to see if it, anything improved with that. Because look, what I'm saying is that not everybody can get close to Henry Cejudo to the point where they're stabilizing this man on the ground, because he's a damn good wrestler. You could see it last night. The amount of takedowns he stuffed. You know what I'm saying? He has good hips, man. World class wrestler, world class. So therefore, when it comes down to Aljamain getting a takedown and having them up against the cage and land those knees, that's one of the only ways that you're gonna get that off. You're not gonna be able to do it per se while y'all moving. You're gonna have to kind of like break him down, level change, have him in a standstill position, isolated, have control, land some knees to the body, and see how it affects Henry Cejudo. But throughout the entire fight, man, it was a back and forth exchange, and I believe they got it right. Even though it was a split decision, they got it right. Aljamain ended up earning the nod, and he pretty much put it out there that Sean O'Malley may potentially be next. He came in the ring looking like I don't know what the hell. He was looking like a freaking extra in Michael Jackson's Thriller video. Thriller mixed in with a little Beat It. He had red shoes on, black pants, and a red jacket. And Sean O'Malley, to me, he's tall, lanky, got reach. But the last tall fighter that came in there with Aljamain, Corey Sandhagen, oh man, he was just, oh my God, he was ragdoll in there a bit. Man, Aljamain closed distance and locked in on him and couldn't do nothing with that body lock. He took him down at will, ended up subbing him out. I'm curious to know how Sean O'Malley is going to handle that wrestling and that grappling. That combination is lethal when it comes to Aljamain Sterling. It's very lethal. Yeah, no problem, Showtime. You already know, man. I see you out there cooking, bro. I see you out there cooking. Real talk. Got multiple things going on, man. Respect. Andrew Charles on deck. What's good? Salute W says, I'm on my Sunday Road Warriors checking in. Hey, man, that's the first time I heard somebody on a Sunday Road Warrior. You know what I'm saying? I hear you, man. What better day to be that road warrior, man, than on a Sunday? That's what they say. History says Sunday is supposed to be the good day. But I never quite understood it because the Sunday is right before Monday. You know what I'm saying? Sunday is right before Monday. They should have did something like Friday, right? No. Thursday, Sunday, and then Friday, Saturday, Monday. You know what I'm saying? So it can blend in a bit better. Because Sunday is right before Monday and people are coming off the weekend. They say, oh, man, God, I enjoyed my weekend so much. I ain't trying to goddamn go into work. Damn. You know what I'm saying? No. But if they switched it up, it wouldn't even be the same. CMD Boxing Reports, what's good? Oh, no, it sounds like Tony is Spencer's drinking partner. Hey, man, he's his own drinking partner. I think he has some CTE. I'm just guessing, you know what I'm saying? He's taken a lot of damage in his career. He's had domestic issues before. Man, people look at this, right? They look at some of these athletes and they just frown upon them for what they actually in trouble for. They don't look at all the interior underlying issues that may be going on. You know what I'm saying? They don't look at that. They don't look at these guys may need medical attention. They may need some other things going on that they've been suffering from as a residual effect of their profession. They don't look at it like that. They just want to see you on fight night. Come in here and fight. I don't want to hear about anything else. You good or you're not? You ain't good. Get out of my gym. You know what I'm saying? Nobody cares, man. Nobody cares, bro. WCS, I saw an interview where Belal said a while ago that Kobe is very overrated and that he dominate him. So you agree with any of that? How would a fight between him and Kobe today play out? Well, I was actually going to get to Belal. You know what I'm saying? Belal Muhammad. That's who you're speaking on. Shout out to Belal Muhammad. To answer your question, a lot of people wants Kobe Covington's head, right? But from what I do understand, okay, let me first say this. We know he built up all that, with Tyrone Woodley, Jorge Masvidal. Him and Jorge Masvidal used to be roommates, okay? Both of these guys have their back and forth, their history and all that. And Kobe at one point in time, you already know the history, man. He was about to be on his out. He was on his way out. They was like, man, you're not funny. You're not doing anything to gain attention for fans to gravitate to you. We're about to send you to the streets, buddy. And then he turned heel, just like World Wrestling Entertainment. Turn heel. Then the Kobe Covington persona start to reciprocate more amongst the fans. He was the bad guy now. He was the bad guy. But one thing I'll say, Mr. Paz, Kobe Covington can fight. I'm not gonna lie to you. Kobe can fight. He can fight. Kamaru Usman did swell his jaw up. I ain't gonna lie, he did break his jaw. And then came back in there, he just couldn't get it done. But I would say this, he has better hands than I thought. He has wrestling, but he has better hands than I initially thought with him. Amongst him being a trash talker. But I'm gonna tell you something. Belal Muhammad is no joke. His physical anatomy is different. Like it's different, bro. Why I say it's different because when people make weight, they just look like they sucked all in and they look the weight class. Muhammad don't look the weight class. When he rehydrates, he's a thick, mass individuals. Like he fights strong. If you look at his head, shoulder, and his chest, he looks big for the weight class when he's in there. And also his durability shows that. Not only that, this man carries weight just like a big rig, like it's supposed to be there. And that would be a problem for Kobe because I haven't seen him running on fumes yet. What he was putting out yesterday, what he was in there putting out yesterday, this man was barely breathing. That is a dangerous fighter. Even for Kobe Covington. I think Belal Muhammad will defeat Kobe Covington, bro. This dude, look, we can't sit up here and look at Leon Edwards scratching this man in the eye after he had already dropped Leon Edwards. I'm talking about Belal he's built different, in my opinion. Like he wears his weight crazy. To wear that rehydration weight the way he does, and that thick bone mass, it has his bone density, his mass as a fighter. For him not to get tired the way he does and continue to work on that motor, working on, keep on, strike after strike after strike, and keep on mixing it up. Man, I'm impressed. I was impressed last night. Seriously, I was impressed with Belal, man. I was impressed. He's no joke. I have him beating Kobe Covington. I hope they do fight. I really do. I hope they do fight. I hope he gets the opportunity because I think he deserves it. But in my opinion, Kobe Covington, he should be in line. I'm just saying, bro. Kobe Covington should be in line. That's all. I think Belal should get that shot with the champion Leon Edwards in a rematch. I think it's only fair for him to get that shot because people are going to look at this fight and say, well, WCS, Gilbert Burns was injured. Listen, it's all a part of the fighting. If a fighter get injured in the mid of exchange and you're talking about Belal landing a knee in the process of countering a potential level change takedown from Gilbert Burns, and that knee lands in the shoulder area. That is a legal strike. That is legal damage. That is something that happened in exchanges, in the middle of exchanges. That is the art of war. That is combat. So Gilbert Burns was broken down by Belal, and he never could recover. So I feel the way he went in there against a fighter like Burns, a guy who really couldn't even get in on a takedown. I know his shoulder was hurt, but I'm just saying he really couldn't get in on the takedown consistently to break down Belal Muhammad. But no question about it, he beat him. He beat Burns. And Burns looked more worse for wear in that fight than Belal did. And I give him credit, but Colby Covington at this point in time, nah, I don't see it, bro. I don't see him beating Belal, man. I think Belal in this weight class that he's in, seriously, I think he has a great opportunity to become world champion. Now I got to be honest with y'all and honest with myself. Leon Edwards heading into that rematch with Kamaru Usman proves how the game is ever evolving if you watch film. This is what I mean. Leon Edwards, to me, was losing the entire fight in the first outing with Kamaru Usman until Kamaru was knocked out. In the rematch, obviously, they made changes. They looked at film after film after film. And whoever was in Leon's camp was smart enough to know what changes need to be made for Leon to go in there and basically give Kamaru Usman somewhat the same performance they had when they first met. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody was paying attention. Somebody was that teacher. And that curriculum changed up real good. But Belal deserves a rematch with Leon Edwards. And let me bring this up for a second. Let me bring this up for a second. So that fight between him and Leon Edwards, a no contest, was March of 2021. All right. Since then, Muhammad is on a 5-fight win streak, including the win last night over Gilbert Burns. He's defeated Damian Maia, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Vicente Luque, Sean Brady, and Gilbert Burns. It's time for him to get his title shot again. It's time. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like that when they met the first time now. He didn't, Leon Edwards didn't have the freaking title. But this time, Leon has the title. Get that man his title shot. Seriously. Good question, man. Good question. Sterling was a strong MF. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, I agree. I thought Henry was going to get his head kicked off with his chin up. Well, both fighters kind of had their chin up in exchanges. Which is crazy because the part that amazes me about zero load up, zero predictability is the explosiveness of Henry Cejudo and his attempt for a flying knee. Like his lunge, he doesn't give you no indication that it's about to go down. That is dangerous. He took off on Aljamain twice with that. No load up, no predictability, anything. But in exchanges sometime when they was throwing punches, both of these fighters had their chin up. Both of them. Real talk. I thought either one of them going to get knocked out. I thought for sure one of them was going to get knocked out with their chin up. Seriously. But Mr. Pass, man, good question. You know what I'm saying? What do you think? Do you think Colby Covington is going to get a fight with Belal before he steps back in there with Leon Edwards? You know how the UFC do it now. When there's a history between two fighters, and we know there's an eye poke history. We know there's an eye poke history with Leon Edwards. Now that he's champion, I think the UFC is going to give him his shot, bro. I really got to start studying UFC, but they got so much going on. Look, Blunts, you're right. They do have so much going on. You know what it's called? Mixed martial arts, brother. It's a multi-dynamic. Look, when I started going to these schools, looking at these freaking training sessions they got, I was saying to myself, I say, how do you go home to the missus after leaving one of these training sessions and be in good spirits? Like these training sessions they have for mixed martial arts are tough. I'm talking about you walk up out of there like, dang, I'm sore. I'm hurting. I guess it's a certain level where your body start to acclimate and get conditioned to the drills that you're doing. But you got to work off your back. You got to work from top position. You got to work off the wall. You got to work on keeping your sparring partner on the wall. You have to work on sparring, hands, foot, and kicks. You just got to, you got to work on drills. And you want to leave and go home and not knock out? Man, I'm telling you, that's a tough sport. That's one of the most grappling is one of the most beautiful systems when it comes to combat. But mixed martial arts, in my opinion, that's extremely tough sport. And anyone who takes it like underrated, I mean not underrated, like overrated, then you haven't quite been close to it enough and been to the gyms to see these dudes train MMA. It's tough, man. You know what I'm saying? It's tough. It's a tough sport, but it's fascinating though. You know what I'm saying? It's fascinating. You getting wrestlers like Bo Nickel, high level wrestler, decorated wrestler, Bo Nickel coming over to freaking mixed martial arts. And not only that, this dude went in there against Gordon Ryan, the GOAT of BJJ. And they took Bo Nickel and allowed him to have a one-on-one with Gordon Ryan in the match. And Gordon was playing around. I wouldn't say playing around. He was just being him, looking for to set the trap. And Bo Nickel suplexed him. Boom. And the crowd went crazy. He suplexed him, right? I mean, it didn't matter because he ended up being subbed out. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that you take high-level wrestling against a high-level BJJ grappler and someone to the GOAT status of Gordon Ryan, you're bound to improve. You're bound to improve. Mixed martial arts continue to grow, man. Back in the day, you used to have fighters who was just learning BJJ. Every time they was on the bottom position, they closed the guard. Now you barely see fighters closing the guard. You barely see them because it restricts you from adjusting the transition to anything. You know what I'm saying? It prevents you from sweeping. It prevents you from sub attempts, all that. So yeah. Aljo showed up last night. Yeah, he did. No, I don't think he's fighting Kobe next. I mean, if anybody in their right mind is going to go for the title shot. Anybody would go for the title shot, especially if you have a history with the guy. If they had a no contest from an eye poke, man, right now, shouldn't he get his title shot? Yeah, he should. Belal beats Kobe. Kobe isn't what he think he is. Truth be told, man, I'm curious to know what Kobe been working on. That's all. I want to see what Kobe's been working on. I don't find him to be a Gardner. I wouldn't say that about Kobe because in boxing, we give a fighter a therapeutic exemption for taking an L against top elite opposition. You know what I'm saying? We do. We give them a pass a little bit. That's the same thing with Chaos, man. Kobe only had 3 losses up to this point. He only has 3 losses. But, those losses, people say, okay, you had serious beef with those individuals. And how are you going to redeem yourself? You had serious beef with him. How are you going to redeem yourself? So the last fight he had was against Jorge Masvidal, and that was March of 2022 last year. Why he's been out the ring and been inactive so much, I don't know. But he had that fight with Tyron Woodley, and he made Woodley quit. You know, that's bragging rights right there. He made Woodley quit, even though Woodley wasn't a champion at the time. Kobe would have loved that. And then he lost against Kamaru Usman in the decision. He didn't get stopped. He didn't get stopped now. He didn't get stopped. The only time he was stopped was way back in the day in 2015. And then he takes on Jorge Masvidal, another fighter who used to be, you know, roomies, bunkies with, friends. They went to a decision. He had one fight in 2020, one in 2021, and one in 2022. Why are you so inactive, brother? I don't get it. What's going on with you? Why are you so inactive? I have no idea. But he's 17-3, man. If I'm Muhammad, nah, don't take no fight with Kobe. The man is inactive too. You know what I'm saying? He hadn't even fought this year. And he fought March of 2022. He's already out the cage a year already. A year plus. That's where I'm at with it. Yeah, I feel like boxing is way easier to tell who's going to win a fight than the UFC. Yeah, when you can consider a whole lot of collective striking dynamics to try to determine what area a fighter is proficient in, yeah, it becomes very tough to place bets. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to kind of make guesses, look at film. You know, every fighter, let's just say this fighter looked good in this fight, but it's mixed martial arts. So the next fighter they fight, their style is totally different. The weakness of that last fighter that you fought and you was able to get the victory, this next opponent that you have, that weakness may be a big strength of this fighter. So then that big strength, is it going to expose a weakness that you have? I mean, that's mixed martial arts. In boxing, it's almost like you using your left hand and your right hand. You use your left foot and your right foot. And the headquarters that's above your shoulders. That's what you got to play with. Ultimately, when we're talking about strikes to the body, wherever that is, the face, shoulder, belt line, don't matter. It's always going to be from the left or right hand. In mixed martial arts, you got the left and right hand, left and right elbow. You know what I'm saying? You can also use your shoulders, but it's the 8 limbs, left and right, elbow and hands, left and right foot and knees. Also, as in boxing, they get mad when you try to spin around and hit a boxer with a punch. A spinning punches, man. The only reason they outlaw in boxing because the opposition could potentially hit you with an elbow. But in mixed martial arts, you can do spinning techniques, all that, man. It's a beautiful nightmare. Real talk. It's a beautiful nightmare at the end of the day. You get these lanky geek looking dudes out here who may be purple belts in BJJ and will string your ass up for real. They look all goofy. Look at Mikey Musumeci. Michael Musumeci. He's over here winning submission over there, one championship. He's over here. I remember when he first started out, look geeky grappler. Dude is absolutely lethal on the way. And we already know the Rotolo brothers. You know what I'm saying? The Rotolo brothers. And shout out to the Fickers, man. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Fickers. You know, I have to see, you know, him grow up in the grappling game. And from my understanding, you know, picked up his world championship. You know, it's been a pleasure, man. You know what I'm saying? Being able to recover you when the time I did. I was his first interview at the Naga tournament. I was his first interview when I went to the Naga grappling tournament. And he told me, he said, that's the first time I'm being interviewed. Now, dude is just he's a monster, man. He's a monster. This dude was in high school when I initially interviewed him at the Naga tournament. This dude, man, god dang, he's a monster, man. Him and his brother both are practitioners in the grappling game, man. Much respect to them. Mr. Passe, W says, I noticed that most martial arts and MMA fans say that wrestling and grappling are the best, most valuable skills to be good in, even over BJJ. Do you agree, or can you see where they come from? So wrestling and grappling, most valuable skills to be good in, even over BJJ. Well, both wrestling and grappling. Okay, wrestling is grappling. BJJ is grappling. It's not over anyone. If you want to ask me about wrestling over grappling, both of them have their pluses and minuses. You know what I'm saying? But both wrestling and BJJ are considered grappling. Wrestling, if you look at wrestling today, vice what it was when it was coming up, those wrestlers are doing some grappling. They're applying grappling techniques also while they're wrestling. Now, of course, their whole objective is to what? Pin their opponent, not submit, to pin their opponent, build up points and everything else. BJJ is grappling. It's all about if you're in a tournament of submission only or you're working on points. Is it gi or no gi? It all depends. You know what I'm saying? It all depends on what level of competition that you're competing in too. But if I had to give advice to anybody that has kids, right, and you want them to get into anything when they're small, I would say get into BJJ. I would say get into BJJ or wrestling, preferably BJJ because it builds confidence in kids. The reason I'm saying that, because a lot of kids have no idea what it's like to choke somebody out without feeling some type of way. Choking out your opponent inside of a school setting and having the ability to understand, okay, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm learning how to apply a lethal application in moderations. I'm training myself to understand. So now you're basically applying a technique that can potentially kill somebody, but you're learning through education that, okay, I'm competing. This is a competition. I'm learning. I'm training how to apply these manipulations to somebody else to build up, you know what I'm saying, my education about the grappling sport, about BJJ. And I think more than wrestling, because wrestling, you're just tossing your opponent around. You know, you learn how to use your, you know how to manipulate momentum. You know how to basically control your opponent's body. You know what I'm saying? You learn position. You know, wrestlers love to be on top. It's a lot of pluses to wrestling. You know what I'm saying? It builds up strength. It builds up hips. It does. But you're not submitting in wrestling. If a wrestler takes somebody down, you're looking at like, what next? But if you allow yourself, you take a wrestler and a BJJ practitioner, and that wrestler takes that grappler down, automatically what they're being taught in the gym is, let's work for a submission. Let's work to improve my position. That's what grapplers think. That's their mindset. As of a wrestler, they take you down and they try to control you. A wrestler may not know how to work off their back once they get on the ground, but I can guarantee you, a grappler, they're going to know how to work off their back. They're going to know how to process and transition whatever they need to do to improve to a better position, or if it presents themselves, work for a submission off the back. You know what I'm saying? Joint manipulation is crazy, because to a total stranger, if someone takes your arm and put it in such an uncomfortable position to it hurts, they're going to get a reaction out of you. And you think it's just going to be, okay, let me punch. No, you're going to be paying attention to, okay, what's going on here? I'm not used to this. Why they have my arm this way? You know what I'm saying? Why are their legs up and I'm feeling like I can barely breathe? Why are they grabbing your clothes and basically sweeping you? Now you on bottom, you was just on top, and you don't understand what's going on. They about to break your arm. I mean, it's just, I would say BJJ, man. BJJ first, wrestling. That's what it is, bro. but I don't look at wrestling as being above grappling. I don't want to say grappling above wrestling because both of them have their benefits on the takedown. A wrestler pick you up and dump you on your damn head, and you probably won't be able to do any submissions. I'm just saying, bro. You gotta understand. I'm probably one of the only YouTubers that cover boxing and MMA that actually interviewed the gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist, before he actually won the medal. Now, before he actually went in there and won the medal. You know what I'm saying? And that wasn't too long ago. But good question, bro. Sheldon say that's why the infantry has now replaced hand to hand with BJJ in grappling and training. Hey, they was doing grappling when I was in. So infantry been doing BJJ. I'm just gonna put it out there. We used to grapple in the sand. From 29 pounds, we used to have grappling in the sand. We was over in Iraq grappling in the sand. You know what I'm saying? That's been there for a long time. When I was pushing recruits, you know what I'm saying, back in the 90s, I had my boys doing grappling. I used to try to determine who was tougher than who. It wasn't supposed to happen, but I had them doing grappling. Anybody in my platoon will tell you. You know what I'm saying? My boys will tell you. They probably won't, you know, because at the time I was a drill instructor, but you know, we did grappling back then. That was in the 90s now. That was in the 90s. So grappling has been a part of the military for some time. But like you said, Sheldon, our primary self-defense was MAGMAP, okay? And it consisted of different tools that you would use, not specifically just BJJ, because BJJ, even though somebody say, okay, when you go to a boxing, you expect to throw your punches. At BJJ, you expect to what? Grapple. You expect to know how to handle certain situations with somebody coming towards you. Know how to basically apply submission from the standing position. Learn how to manipulate your adversary and gain control. You know what I'm saying? How do I put myself in a dominant position with this person who's coming towards me and they're much bigger? That's what I love about BJJ also. They have the absolute division where you have a small guy that's being outweighed by 100+ pounds and they're grappling with a bigger guy. Sometimes it works out for the smaller guy. Sometimes it works out for the bigger guy. But who else has that? You're not going to find it in boxing like that unless you're in the heavyweight division. I'm just saying, shawty. But the infantry and all that, man, look, the military, we've been having combat competitions against the Army. Marines, we always had. I did my first smoker. It was the Marines versus the Army down there in Virginia. You know what I'm saying? In boxing. He did get his jaw broken against Usman. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, what crazy? Why do UFC fighters take all that time off and come back? You don't really see boxers doing that at a high level. Out for 3 years, then coming back to fight champs. Actually, mixed martial artists comparable, you know, to what division they're in, they're recycled quicker than boxers. Their turnaround is much quicker than boxers, to be honest. Now, for some fighters, you're talking about an art, a combat, right? You're talking about a combat system that consists of your entire body. So you have to go through training, working on different disciplines, right? For your entire physical anatomy. So injuries happen. You hear people talking about, oh man, my knee's messed up. What about leg locks, ankle locks, ankle submissions, leg submissions, elbow submissions? Just get in and out of chokes. People get injured. What is attached to those joints? Tendons, ligaments. You know what I'm saying? You have to factor all that in when it comes to mixed martial arts, that your body have to get used to the manipulation. It has to get used to that, else your body's gonna be sore. You're gonna keep this nagging pain. What did Aljamain Sterling say yesterday in the post conference? He was talking about stem cells. Stem cells now. That goes to show you this sport is tough. Mixed martial arts is tough, bro. You're talking about being in positions that manipulate the structures of your joints that you need to function every day. When boxers box, what joints are they using? Shoulders, elbows, wrists, even down to the metacarpal where you're messing with your fingers. You're messing with your knuckles. Those are joints. In mixed martial arts, you have to work on the grappling game and the wrestling game. So therefore, you have to hit the mat. You have to be thrown to know what it feels like. You have to work yourself out of submissions. You go into any gym, you'll pretty much find them saying, okay, work off your back, work in the less dominant position, work yourself up out of that. Ready, go. And you have somebody that's top heavy on top of you trying to keep you down while you're trying to improve your position and make it back to your feet. That stuff is tiring, especially if they're trying to supply submission to you. So they got little nagging injuries that keep them out. It all depends, man. And also you have to look at it like this too, Bunch. They're using 4-ounce gloves. They're kicking too. So let's say somebody kick you in the low calf or the knee area. I mean, what if your body, what if the inside, the ACL, PCL, MCL, what if that start to bother you? You just gonna kick with the other leg? What is that? Your most dominant leg that you kick with? That's a tough ass sport, bro. No, man, it's just, I'm not saying I'm right. Like I get educated all the time on this. Like when I take time off from doing this stuff, I'm looking at other stuff. I'm looking at BJJ tournaments and MMA. I do. So, if I was able to educate you on anything, cool. But it's also people that's out there that I'm getting my education from. I'm getting my knowledge. And for a lot of people, they just don't want to pay attention and look at what's going on in an MMA bout. Like they had some high level technical stuff going on out there between Aljamain Sterling, you know what I'm saying, when he was in there fighting Henry Cejudo. Two high level fighters, y'all. If you can take a look at that fight again, look how Cejudo was in his fighting stance and how he was trying to predict. Both fighters was trying to revisit an area of a fighter that they took an L. Aljamain Sterling was trying to land knees to Henry Cejudo's body, and Cejudo was attempting to set Aljamain Sterling up upon entry when him level changing. He was trying to time Aljamain's level change to catch him with a knee. And when somebody's able to process that without loading up, just the explosion aspect of it, man, that's crazy, man. You would be out. And when they know what happened, they would hit you so quick. And the height that Cejudo got on that flying knee was crazy, man. Crazy, out this world. Wrestling help you understand how to control someone else's body. That's crazy. Yes, man. And also BJJ grappling shows you how to control somebody else's body. But see, the one part about it, grapplers are working for a submission. Wrestlers is working for a position. You know what I'm saying? It's a different. Wrestlers are working for a position. That position is to get your opponent to a pinning predicament, to score points, of course, too. But grapplers, they working position before submission. They get you down. They are working for transition for submission. They're not just going to take you down. And, depending on what level, because, people look at white belt, right? So you look at a white belt like Taekwondo. I've been to schools that are just belt mills. You pay for the form, you know what I'm saying? You'll pretty much get the stripe. Then you'll get elevated to the belt when it's time, right? But in BJJ, these professors cannot be belt mill professors in BJJ. They have a different principle, so to speak. You just can't go up here and promote these grapplers to brown belt and they really can't teach anything about it. Like they really don't have no proof. Like, who is your professor? You got brown belt and you know nothing. You're very under skilled to be a brown belt. Who raised you to this belt? Like, they have a different code over there in BJJ. They have a different code, bro. See, I went in 83, got out 90. Okay. In the 90s, man, grappling was definitely going down. We had pancreation tournaments. I've spoken about this before. We had pancreation tournaments. That's where you're able to strike. It's grappling and everything from the neck down. You're able to work for submissions, but you're able to strike from the neck down, no headshots. And if you think that is not tough, that is extremely tough, man. And some of the guys that I've seen in these pancreation tournaments was some of the individuals that was, you know, from their school and everything. That some of these guys end up being transitioning up to compete in mixed martial arts. It was pretty cool though. You know, seeing some of these kids grow up. It's pretty cool, man. Shout out to Coach, man. True Media Today, USA Boxing in the building, man. Shout out to you, Coach. What's good with you? What is good? I saw your fight party, man. Solid, good fight party, man. Your WCS random question, and maybe obvious answer, but from your perspective, which sport is more difficult to predict the outcome in boxing or MMA? More difficult, right? Because of 3 to 5 rounds. Well, you, like I said this before, right? You take 3 minutes per round with boxing and you put 10 rounds, just a minimum of 10 rounds without a championship. That's 30 minutes, right? So if you take a 5 minute, and plus what I like about MMA too, is that the males and the females have the same gear and they have the same time per round. This is mixed martial arts. That's why women in mixed martial arts get a lot more respect at the end of the day. Like, seriously, man, I'm just being honest. Like, they fight 3 5-minute rounds or 5 5-minute rounds, and they wear the exact same gear when it comes to the equipment. They have 4-ounce gloves like everybody else. It's 4 ounces, period. To answer your question, MMA is more difficult to predict, in my opinion. MMA, because I've mentioned this before, and you can mark my word on the level. Let's look at the level of the top promotions, right? Let's look at Golden Boy. Let's look at Top Rank, TGB, right? If you look at the habit that comes to the ring, there's a habit that comes to the ring most of the time. Depending on where you at, that potentially on the undercard, you can get what? A fighter that doesn't belong there. A fighter that hasn't built up their skill set enough to compete on that stage. They're professional fighters, they're professional boxers, but the fighter that they in there with is very they're outmatched from the beginning, right? You can clearly see it. You can clearly see the habit is brought to the ring a lot of times in boxing. But in mixed martial arts, you really don't see mixed matches like that in that, because it's embarrassing. And once again, it's just another code that mixed martial arts live by. I'm not saying it doesn't happen on the regional, on the lower tier levels. I'm saying when you're talking about Bellator, UFC, PFL, they're not bringing a person up here that just left the YMCA and passed medicals and got their freaking professional MMA license. So you want to go up here and fight on Bellator? You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna be on the undercard, and you don't know how to stuff a takedown. You don't know how to throw a kick and a punch in combination. You don't see that in mixed martial arts, man. You got to have some type of skill, all around skill. They ain't just bringing you up here because you got your license. You on here making a check. No. They ain't having you go out there and somebody land a head kick on you, and you damn near, they preparing your funeral the next day. That's the difference between mixed martial arts. That's why, to me, once a fighter makes it to a certain level, especially the UFC, Bellator, they're skilled enough to go in there and compete and know what they're looking at, know how to process and compete. You know what I'm saying? They've had enough hours. They put in enough mat time. They totally get it. Now, that doesn't mean they might not be deficient in certain areas of mixed martial arts, but at least they understand it. They process it. They're educated enough to go in there and compete. MMA, hands down, to be able to go in there and predict the fight where you have 5 minutes per round. And then in championships or co-main events, sometime you have 5 rounds, 5 minutes apiece, which is 25 minutes. 10 rounds in boxing is 30 minutes. 5 rounds in MMA is 25 minutes. So, boxing, I don't take one from the other. When I say boxing, I can look at it a little bit simpler and say, okay, we're dealing with punches and movement, angles. That's what we're dealing with. MMA, we're talking about punches, kicks, everything else, the 8 limbs of combat. We're talking about having the option to throw those strikes differently than boxing. Boxing, you can't reverse punch anybody. You can't do any spinning techniques. You can't do any of that shit. The whole system is different when it comes to mixed martial arts because it's a good chance that you may be taken down. It's a good chance that once you're taken down and somebody knee you in your ribs, you might defecate on yourself. You know what I'm saying? And the fight is over. If you never felt that type of strike hit you, just imagine being kneed in the hip. You know how in boxing, when they say, okay, you hit below the belt, time. That's a low blow. Keep them up. That's a low blow. Keep them up. Well, guess what? The same thing happened in mixed martial arts, except you have to target that one area in the groin. Everything else is on limits. It's accessible. It's cool. It's legal. You can kick somebody in the hip. You can kick somebody in the thigh, the leg. You can kick them all over their body. And also you can kick them in the head. Long as the soles of their feet is on, you can kick them in the head, shawty. When I went through advanced infantry training, we were still using pugil sticks. Well, pugil sticks was more so in the Marine Corps, just like a competition thing. Like most of the hand-to-hand combats was with plastic knives, the training and everything. They had certain tools up there, non-lethal batons. Pugil sticks, every time I did pugil sticks was more so like just competition strikes. You try to out-strike your opponent in pugil sticks. You holding a stick and you're just striking with a stick. What is that? Hey, put the stick down and try to see how it feels to reach out and grab somebody. But I feel you on that, Sheldon. I totally understand when you're talking about pugil sticks. Yeah. I wonder where they at now. They probably still use for agitators because sometime in combat, you send 2 people in there and you want them to focus, on their enemy. But also on the outside, you might have 2 or 3 other people that with pugil sticks that'll swing the pugil sticks, and you have to pay attention to your surrounding area. You have to pay attention to a lot more, so you might feel something hit you in the back, but yet you still got to focus on your enemy, and you get tired, man. I'm telling you, every time you hit the ground, they might send, 2 people in there with pugil sticks that kind of distract you with strikes from the top position while you're still trying to defend off your adversary. Yeah, good shit, man. Also, another thing, W says, do you feel like the skill gap in the UFC is smaller between fighters compared to boxing? For example, are there a lot of good grapplers, good strikers, and so on? Like I just said, like when you level the playing field, as they call it, and you look at the fights that happen on boxing, you can significantly tell the fighters that shouldn't be there. In my opinion, when it comes to boxing, in my opinion, on the highest level, you can tell the boxers, in my opinion, that shouldn't be there with that fighter. Perfect example, Yamaguchi Falco. They shouldn't even let him on the parking lot. They shouldn't let him in the parking lot.
They shouldn't even let them in the parking lot, bro. You know what I'm saying? You seen how excuse me, hold on for a second. You seen how deficient he was, man. People can say, oh man, you know, his record said this. Hey, try that in mixed martial arts. That's only in boxing, bro. You're not going to find a mixed martial artist coming in there with 20-0. You're not going to find a mixed martial artist coming in there with 15-0 like that without them fighting somebody. Like, you're not going to find it, bro. Most of the time you find MMA fighters, they have low professional fights, and they started off and they have names on there that's competing at the high level. They're not coming into you rarely find Serial Guns. Like Serial Gun, man, you know, he was up here at what, 9-0 at one time, 10-0 before he took that first L against Francis Ngannou. And then I think he might have been 10-1. I don't know if I'm spot on or not, 10-1 when he stepped in there and fought John Jones and took that next L. So when you're talking about the skill gap, when it comes time for television, televised fights, it's boxing. Much more of a skill gap displayed in boxing rather than mixed martial arts. Because in these promotions over here in MMA, they're not playing that inflate the record and come over here 15-0, 20-0, you ain't fought none of the big names. Don't nobody want to hear that. Don't nobody want to see that. That ain't happening, bro. You can't get away with having a gap in the skill set in mixed martial arts like that. You can't come over here never working kicks in your life. You know what I'm saying? Never taking a kick in your life, because time that person kicked you in your body, you can say, ooh, oh, hold up, ref, hold up. Oh my God. Is that legal? That's the first time I've been kicked. Oh my God. Dang, somebody give me an ice pack, man. It's not going to happen. You have to have some type of acclimation and training. Boxing, you see fighters step inside the ring a lot, and they should not be there, bro. That's playing out. Then you hear the commentators be like, oh my God, where did this guy come from? Oh, this is terrible. This is terrible. Larry, what do you think about this? Who approved this? You know, oh my God, man, this is bad. This is bad for the sport, man. When I look at it and I just shake my head, oh my, it's boxing all day long. The skill gap is more of a display when it comes to boxing than mixed martial arts. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand, boxing is a sport, mixed martial arts. So, Mr. Paz, when you say in the UFC is a promotion just like TGB, just like Top Rank, Golden Boy, and all these people, you know, Matchroom, all of them. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that. But remember, a bad habit that comes in people saying boxing versus the UFC. The UFC isn't the only promotion, and the UFC isn't considered a sport. The UFC is a promotion that the employees are mixed martial artists. You know what I'm saying? They are mixed martial artists, bro. So it's boxing versus mixed martial arts. Is there a skill gap when it comes to fighters fighting on the promotion? Because, you know, that's kind of like a tough, complex question, because I can say, okay, are you talking about boxing on a regional tier? Because when you say the UFC, that's the highest tier. But when you talk about boxing, you don't provide a promotion to link up with the UFC. The UFC is a top tier promotion. That's the creme de la creme in mixed martial arts. Boxing is a sport. So depending on where that boxer and what promotion is fighting and who he's signed to, they can be the gardeners of the sport. They can be novice at this game. But when you mention the UFC have professional qualified fighters. They are not taking bums. They are not taking bums. When I say bums, I'm talking about fighters who really don't know what the hell they doing once they get in that cage. Good boxers or on the regional tier. Good boxers. I believe in order to compete in some of these higher tier promotions in boxing, you need to be above average boxer to go in there and fight. Above average. Now, sometimes the opposition makes it look worse because they go in there and get the first round knockout and stuff like that on televised TV, televised broadcast rather. But if you go down to the regional level and you want me to answer the skill gap, well, it's somewhat the same. Because you take the regional level boxing, the regional level mixed martial arts, yeah, you're going to see some shit that's like, ugh, they need help. But when you're talking about seeing that play out on Bellator, the UFC, or PFL, no, not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell that shit happening. Some of the times you have fighters slip by and they get televised on the prelim and it's a total mismatch. And people's like, oh, this is, where did they get this guy? You won't see that play out like that. No way, no hell. How? It ain't happening, bro. Shout out to the Queen Fisty on the Fights on Deck. I see you. How you been, Mr. Paz? Say WCS, you're right. I think people forget that the UFC isn't a sport, but just one company. Like there's Glory Kickboxing, Bellator, and so on. There's a lot that's going on. Like people say boxing and the UFC. UFC isn't a sport. It promotes fighters who compete in mixed martial arts, which is considered the sport comparable to boxing. You know what I'm saying? Mixed martial arts is a sport. Boxing is a sport. You know what I'm saying? Two different organizations of many. Two different sports under many organizations, what I wanted to say. Under many organizations. But when we're talking about broadcasting fights and sometimes having fighters in there that's unqualified to be matched up with that fighter, and they're called a soft touch, you really don't see that a lot. That's obvious to the eye in mixed martial arts. You just don't see it. These guys have to have above average, a higher skill to be able to go in there and compete. You just don't see mixed martial artists going there like they don't know what they're doing. But boxers, yeah, we can see that sometimes. We see it more times than often, man. We see them go in there, and sometimes you like saying to yourself, no, they don't need to be here. Oh, no, they shouldn't be here. What? Who approved this? John, come here. Who approved this? Oh, heads are gonna turn. Oh man, heads are gonna roll for this. People's jobs are on the line. Where did you get the guy? And you put it on the main card television? Come on, man. But boss, he's 24. He's 24-3. I don't care. Who did he beat? Get him out of here. But boss, you have to pay him. He's not getting paid tonight. Get him out of here. Call him an Uber. Now it's all good, man. Been okay, WCS. Hoping you all doing okay. No doubt, man. Same to you. We good. Just talking some mixed martial arts, man. Some very, very astute questions being asked. You know what I'm saying? Which makes sense. Because people have to understand that mixed martial arts and boxing, not boxing the UFC. You know what I'm saying? UFC is a promotion. You know what I'm saying? It's just like saying Top Rank in mixed martial arts, as if Top Rank is a sole entity. The reason why people relate to the UFC a lot is because that's their primary focus of fights that they pay attention to. It's only a promotion. The creme de la creme of mixed martial artists, when it comes to the UFC, that is what it's supposed to be. That community. I'm not saying Bellator is not the creme de la creme. Like you have some top tier Bellator fighters, but it plays second fiddle to that of the UFC. Most of the time. It does, bro. It does. People don't want to acknowledge, but it does. When you're talking about the champions that's in the UFC, these are the top level competitors from the males and the females. These are the top of the echelon when it comes to competitors. Seriously. When you get a UFC title, man, come on. The title looks, man, you feeling some type of way, man. You feeling the prestige of saying, "Damn, I won my UFC World Championship." And the good thing about it, they don't have interim titles all the time. Every now and then, they will have somebody fight. And then more rare than that, you rarely see a fight that's put on with the BMF title. That doesn't happen in the UFC, but it happened for Jorge Masvidal. You rarely see it happen. They don't have a saturation of the belts because you're talking about regulation. Boxing, you can't even say boxing is a single entity when it comes down to it. Like, who do you answer in the UFC? You're going to answer to somebody. That's why Dana White will say, I'll fire you. You know, they people let you go. You out of here. You know what I'm saying? You have a president to answer to. I like that. You have Scott Coker to answer to. You're not allowing sanctioning bodies to dictate giving black eyes to the sport. A fighter popped dirty, and but yet the sanctioning body president raised the levels of the violation and allows that fighter to continue to compete as if it's transparent. No, you're not getting away with that. Like I said before, the one thing I have seen change when it comes to USADA, you know, you have VADA and all these, you know, when you have USADA, which is the voluntary, you know, the anti-doping committee or whatever, right? What I have seen throughout the years for us to change is that initially when a fighter popped dirty, they will announce it. So that fighter's name is out there. Oh man, so-and-so popped dirty. And people's like, oh man, did you hear so-and-so pop dirty? But come to find out, you know, going through the John Jones saga is that USADA themselves had to be more aware that certain fighters that may have been taking a banned substance, everyone's body isn't the same with filtering that substance out once they're not or no longer on that substance. It takes longer for them to filter out that drug and cycle off or whatever. And it's not so much cycling off either. They can already be off, but all the picograms and everything that may show up on the test, they found out, okay, let us take a little bit more time with our tests. Because if this fighter had popped dirty before and they pop dirty again, we need to make sure and evaluate the levels. If the levels isn't substantially higher than the last time that the last time they popped dirty, and they're substantially lower, but they still pop dirty, maybe their body is still filtrating those last picograms or whatever out of the body. So we shouldn't publicly announce it the way we used to. And that changed, really. That changed over there. Like, well, let's make sure the fighter is dirty. Let's make sure during the suspension, when they came back to try to get cleared, you know, they popped dirty again. Let's try to determine if their body is still pushing this substance out, because they might have been a heavy user. Who knows? I don't know. Just going off what I seen play out. You know what I'm saying? So, but we're getting closer and closer to the fight that people notice out there, the May 20th fight, Devin Haney, Vasyl Lomachenko. Hey, all I can say is for Devin Haney, I don't want to say it's the proving grounds again, because he did prove against Kambosos. But also when it comes down to like certain fighters beating a man, to beat a man, you got to beat the man. Well, they didn't really give Kambosos, you know, boxing is a strange little it's a strange little how you put it? Boxing picks and choose who to co-sign. You know what I'm saying? It's funny. Like, the fans will pick and choose who to give a pass to, rather. You know, sometime, right? So you have terminology out there. To be the man, you got to beat the man, right? So Kambosos beat the man who beat the man. Now, of course, the Wall Street might have declined a little bit because Teofimo beat Lomachenko, but yet and still, Teofimo Lopez wasn't healthy as he should be, right? I have to put the disclaimer out there. I'm not making excuses for Teo, but he did present documentation, and it's been well broadcasted, and it's been spoken on many occasions that he did have a medical issue going to that fight with Kambosos, but he still went balls to the walls, bonsai, kill or be killed in there with Kambosos, man. I respect that about Teo. But when you're talking about damage control after that fight, it wasn't enough people on Kambosos' team to clear that up that can convince the masses that, yeah, he defeated a healthy Teofimo Lopez. There's not enough people that's going to co-sign you on that. They're not going to stand with you in ranks and say, yeah, I agree. You, yep. They're not going to do it. So when it comes to Kambosos beating the man who beat the man, it stops right there. It stops even with Kambosos having the titles. Now, the prestige from him beating the man who beat the man is diminished. And now he's pretty much fighting from a clean slate of a fighter who's the undisputed lightweight world champion. It's almost like now Devin Haney is going over there fighting Kambosos with all the belts. No one is really looking at saying, okay, well, Haney's going in there fighting Kambosos. He beat Teo, who beat Loma. No, they're pretty much saying, well, yeah, he did beat Teo, but Teo wasn't 100%. So we're just going to say, okay, take it. He has the belts. Devin go in there for the Aussie double. He gets the victory. And then he beats that man strictly with a jab. Put on the clinic against Kambosos. And then people have their sides, their viewpoints. Yeah, he picked up the belts, and that's what people wanted, right? You wanted, Devin to pick up all the belts. But yet they say he just used the jab. And he really didn't do anything special. Look, I try to be as educated as I want to be, unless I'm on somebody's neck, right? But when it comes down to this, right, isn't it up to their adversary or opposition to disrupt the rhythm of someone who's continuing to beat them up with a jab? It's up to them to negate that. You have to negate that. You have to learn some type of defensive mechanism, or you have to make an adjustment knowing that jab is piston. It's piston-like, and it's continuing to go and go and go. You have to find a way to defend it, maneuver around it, and land your own offense. So people felt some type of way, right? He goes in there to the Aussie double, the second one. He gets the job done with Kambosos, who's trying to do all this back and forth, shaking and baking, and all this like he's trying to do AI crossover, and all this other stuff. This ain't basketball, homie. He still took the L. Now Lomachenko is on deck, a fighter who people always wants to use in their debates. Lomachenko ducked. Well, guess what? In order for somebody to be the mandatory, it has to be ordered, right? Let's just leave that narrative alone. If Lomachenko did indeed just basically denounce Devin Haney and said, you know what, Mauricio Suleiman, I'm not fighting the rest of the year, and no, I'm not fighting Devin Haney. I want to fight Teofimo Lopez for a bigger fight. So Teo, in the process of bowing out that fragmented tournament they supposed to have at the WBC, Devin Haney and them stayed over there, right? But Teo went the other route. We already know how that happens, right? Right? So Teo ended up getting to the goal first. But the whole time, the biggest name before this tournament shit even started was Vasyl Lomachenko. Before any of this got popping, Lomachenko was a unified lightweight world champion. Only thing he had to do was get the one belt. After he defeated Luke Campbell, he had the IBF to get that. Why he didn't do it, who the fuck knows? Who knows, bro? But when it comes down to it, he was elevated the franchise, the second one in boxing history, elevate the franchise, And that just left Devin Haney in limbo. In history, you will never see a fighter with a coveted WBC title be treated and the title pretty much renamed, retagged, rebranded. It still was a WBC, but they tried to call it the Pride Belt. Have you ever seen such disrespect? Yeah, I did. Yeah, they gave the Charlos the Freedom Belt when he had the two black hands reaching out and holding that brother up. Come, I got you, brother. We're gonna get through this. No more plantation. I never seen a more disrespectful belt. You know what I'm saying? They try to name that man's belt the Pride Belt. God damn. All I thought it was agenda. Somebody tell me agenda. But anyway, it's good that Haney pushed forward through that storm. Now he faces Lomachenko, who, if he wasn't, you know what I'm saying? If he wasn't feeling some type of way about the criticism he's faced over time, with people believing that he somehow avoided Haney when he was in that position to face him, now he has the opportunity to shut all the naysayers up. I don't think Haney has as near as many naysayers when it comes to this fight as Lomachenko, so to speak, over time. Because a lot of people said Lomachenko was ducking Haney when he was in that position. But no one is up here saying that Devin was ducking Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? So now we come full circle. Lomachenko has more miles on him. He took that L from Teofimo Lopez, but he hasn't lost since. He hasn't lost. It's going down May 20th. I still have to hold Lomachenko accountable. You know where? I'm going with it. When he lost the TO, he said the judges was paid off. God damn it. He submits a paper. Look, he submits a frame of steel from the hospital with these little marks on there, like he had his shoulder scoped. And then he said the judges was paid off, bro. Oh my God, so disrespectful. So disrespectful. Not only that, people, you have to think about the excuse that he used. When Devin jumped in the ring after Lomachenko went in there and faced Jermaine Ortiz, right? I'm saying, okay, God damn, now we get the face off. Now we get the shit that people been waiting to happen. And this man said, hey, why? What is this heavyweight? He fight heavyweight. Oh, who is this? Is this Devin Haney or George Foreman? He still fight lightweight. Somebody come over here. Is this him? You see? Is this Devin Haney or George Foreman? Which one is he? I'm just saying, Lomachenko once again. He's bringing up the balloons, man. He's bringing out the balloons once again, man. Don't make it a carnival, Lomachenko. You said this man was fighting in the heavyweight and he's still making weight at 135. That's not cool. That's not cool, bro. We all know you are the size you are and you make 135 easily. And you can potentially, at your age, 35, you know what I'm saying, 35, 36, however old Lomachenko is, that he can drop down to 130. Cool. But if you have people hyping you up and saying you're the next coming to Ali, you have to live up to that standard. You have to live up to that. No more excuses. Don't say the judges paid off. Don't say this. Don't say that. The fight is coming up and you have to go in there and beat that dude. You have to prevent him from beating you, for you taking the L. Because at this point in time, to include myself, I think you have a lot of tread. And I think at this point in Devin's career, he's much more talented than you are. Plus, he has youth on his side. So it's going to be very interesting in Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? I wish both of y'all the best. Man. But when you got the young lions on the hunt with the titles, I don't think him and his pops is willing to come off those straps anytime soon just because of the name itself, just because of Lomachenko. Yeah, you're a 2-time gold standard Olympian, but I just don't see you being that dude that came in here on your second professional fight. They laid out the Lomachenko carpet. They laid out the Lomachenko carpet for you. What type of American fighter got that type of work now? It is a fighter out there that fought for a title, that fought in a title fight. His first or second professional fight, I believe. And his name just slipped off my tongue. I was about to drop some history from the window. Maybe if Bruce is in the building, you know who that was. But it was a fighter that fought for a title on his first or second fight. He didn't win, but he did fight in a title fight, if I'm not mistaken. I think Bob is gonna let Devin walk free with the belts. You talking about the triple G? Letting? Did you say let? Blunts, did you say let? You talking about the promoter that came up with Don King? He's gonna let. You gotta understand one thing. If the contract was just for those amount of fights, right? Why would it be let? If this is his last fight on the contract, it ain't no letting anything. They're out. Just like when they was at the zone, fight the last fight, they're out. Just like Crawford fought the last fight, he was out. You can't hold a fighter hostage if you don't have him contractually signed and locked in after this fight. He wins, he can go where he wants. But you got to understand, who's going to sign him, bro? What would benefit him for signing? He doesn't want to go back over there to the zone. How will he benefit holding on to those titles? He's going to need a promoter at the end of the day. If Devin goes in here and beat Lomachenko and he wants that big fight, whether it be Shakur or Javante, he's going to have to need something. So you can say this: is Bob Arum going to allow this man to sign for another one fight just to do his administrative logistics to make the next fight? No, hell no. Where are all the majority of the lightweights at? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you want the big fights, bro. And from my understanding, he probably just had one more fight after the Lomachenko fight at the lightweight. They saw a recent video of Loma juggling. They say based off that, Devin would get whooped. Not only can Lomachenko juggle, Lomachenko knows mixed martial arts too. I'm just saying. And I was saying, Blunts is not letting anything. If a fighter has a final fight coming up, and that is the remaining fight on the contract, that fighter wins. What is there to do? What's next? Was Crawford the champion when he left Top Rank? Absolutely. If Devin has one more fight on the contract, supposedly with Top Rank, and Lomachenko is coming up and he wins, how can he be held captive? Now, it's going to be up to those at the promotion to give this man a deal, you know what I'm saying, that satisfy his monetary appetite. That's up to them. I don't deal with the business. I don't have to. I don't know what the OG is going to do. I don't know. Real talk. Oh, here we go. Bob can rob Devin on the cards and say, you ain't leaving with them. No. You trying to have somebody read in between the lines into what you truly trying to say. I get it. You know what I'm saying? That's like subliminal shit. But I wasn't able to decipher that you were saying, okay, him being robbed on the cards, let him leave. Bro, when he signed Devin Haney, bro, Devin wasn't the champion, man. I'm talking about he wasn't an undisputed champion like that. I know he had the WBC, but he wasn't the champion like that with the undisputed titles. They had to use the network for Cambosis. They had to go to the OG. They couldn't go to PBC because of the bad history on the ties that was severed with Ludabella over there at PBC. So they came over here to the triple OG and they say, hey, is there a way we can help us out? Of course I can, but you have to do some paperwork and you have to stay locked in for at least about 3 fights. So are you willing to do that? Because I can get you the fights, no problem, no doubt about it. I can get you the fights. They had to lock down, man. They have to lock down. They had to lock into that shit. He wins this dang fight. I'm pretty sure they already been talking to this man about that. What's his choices? That's the crazy part about boxing. How long has this sport been in existence? And why is it only certain limited? Like, why is the top echelon monopolized? Like, you remember when people saying Eddie Hearns is going to come over here and take over? And I said, you must have lost your damn mind. You think Eddie Hearns is going to come over here with all these wolves and think he's going to be the numero uno, the Don Dada of sports promotion in the U.S. and phase out all these other? It's not happening, brother. Why isn't it much larger promotions around here that gets the nod as being on the level of a top ranked TGB, Golden Boy, and all that? It's a reason for that, man. It's a dirty local sport. It's crazy. So Devin don't have a lot of options when it comes to who has the network accessibility. You need a network, shawty. You need somebody that's going to be able to put on them big fights. If you're trying to get the creme de la creme big fight after Lomachenko, you're going to need somebody on the network. And we all know who's in charge of that. I know what you're talking about, Blunts, and when it comes down to like those possibilities based off the history, I know where you at with it. You're like, oh well, he's very high on Lomachenko. That's his man's. I get it. And then boxing does have a history of fights that are absolutely disrespectful when it comes to judges doing what they're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? The fighters being robbed. You know what I'm saying? Like I say all the time, Gabriel Maestre and Michael Fox. Michael Fox was clearly robbed after Maestre was caught cheating. They put in a petition and they still didn't approve the petition. Boxing has one of those checkered past, bro. I know where you at with it, but I'm not trying to look at it in that perspective. You know what I'm saying? If Devin clearly goes out there and beat Lomachenko, you can't rob him on the scorecards, man. It'll be terrible. It'll be another terrible black eye in boxing. Yeah. Hey, Blunts. Yeah. Bob said you bet your money on Loma, just like freaking Rolly Romero said, bet your house. I wonder how many people actually betted their house and where are they stand? You know what I'm saying? Where are they stand at this moment? What bus stop? What train station? Those individuals that betted their money on Rolly. Bet the house on that. And I'm telling you, bet the house. I'm gonna go ahead and do what I got to think. Dude, I'm the stronger, bigger punchers, man. He can't mess with me. I'm telling you, man. I try to tell people, bet your house on, man. Come on, stop it. Stop it. I personally think Deb might stop Loma. Hey, I hear you talking. I hear you talking there, Blunts. I hear you talking. I mean, y'all don't want to be making them bets. Y'all serious about them bets. I feel you. I don't do that, but maybe I need to get in it periodically here and there. Make a couple of hundred. You know what I'm saying? Make a couple of hundred. W says there was a dude in the YTBC who bet 5K on Rolly versus Tank. That was a hilarious moment in the YTC. Can they prove that he bet 5K? Are you talking about Showbiz? Showbiz supposed to be making these bets, which I don't care what the brother does with his money, but is it legit? You know what I'm saying? Is he putting these thousands dollars up on fighters that's opposite of what the fans think will win. If he's not verifying or putting his money, he's just capping. I don't know. Like I said, I don't care about what he does with his money, but I have heard that, you know, he be betting supposedly all this money on the opposite fighter. That can be just for freaking viewership attraction. Hey, so-and-so bet this amount of money on. How can we prove it? Prove that you took a loss on that. Prove that you bet the money on that fighter, man. If you can't prove it, I don't even want to talk about it, big dog. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm talking about the dude called Dusty Storm who lives in Vegas. Okay, he got clown heavy for it and disappeared ever since. Hey, you know how them Dusty Storms can be now. You know what I'm saying? And them Dusty Storms, man, when you see them dust devils in the desert, they can do a little bit of damage here and there now. For real. That man bet 4K, 5K on Rolly Brother. Man, come on. Come on, man. Like, look, you have to look how human beings are so sometimey, man. They want to live on the edge of things that's right there in front of them. They know what was going to happen, but they just thought a fighter that like Rolly, who once again, the same situation, the bad habits they bring to this game. They knew Ryan Garcia wasn't technically qualified for them to make a bet that they feel good about. They were just going off a hope and a wish. The same thing with Rolly. But the only thing about Rolly is, you know, Rolly actually believed that he was a harder puncher than Tank. He did. He did. In his mind, Rolly's like, you know, I can punch harder than him anything. You know what I'm saying? You know, I got a black belt in judoka. I'm just more stronger. You know, he believed that. I believe Rolly believed that, bro. Rolly's a strong fighter. He's a dog. Seriously, Rolly's a dog, man. I can't take nothing away from him. When I saw him on fight night, the people who bet on Rolly, they was like, damn, look how big he is. We're going to make this money. Oh, my God. I never thought he'd make it out the fifth round with Tank. Oh, my God. This is going just as planned. He's getting caught. Bang. Do the stanky leg. Do the stanky leg. I do the stanky leg. Yeah. I do the stanky leg. I do the stanky leg. I do the stanky leg. I mean, come on, bro. Dude was all in the ropes. I mean, I actually gained more respect for Rolly in that fight. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did. I gained more respect for Rolly in that fight because Rolly didn't fight scared. He didn't fight scared, man. He, you know, even though he was capping, he said he was gonna knock him out of one round, but he didn't try to knock him out of one round. So that was cap. I deducted some points off that. Then he gained some points. You know, he was actually pushing the pace and all that. I said, okay. Rolly tried to take the fight to Tank, but he just didn't know he was in there with a masterful teacher. So he was waiting on the lesson to be taught. He couldn't really know what was going to be the lesson until it was handed and slapped right in the face. He didn't know what the lesson was going to be. He knew it was somewhere. He didn't know what chapter. He didn't know it was going to be the first chapter, the second chapter, the third chapter, the fourth chapter, the fifth chapter. He found out it was going to be the sixth chapter. That's what Rolly found out. But after that, man, he found new fan base. His followers went up. They respected him, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Now he about to step in there supposedly with Ismael Barroso. Let's see how that plays out. Let's see if Rolly can go here and pick up a real belt. If y'all let Rolly pick up a belt, I'm pretty sure we're gonna see Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero fight for, you know, that championship or something like that. Watch what I tell you. You know, enemies turn frenemies back to enemies. I saw him on Bloodstream like 3 months after that, and he was saying Rolly should fight Errol next. Dude was Rolly biggest fan. Hey, one thing I'll say about it, Mr. Paz, you've been around here long enough. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. A hell of a drug. cocaine is a hell of a drug. Just ask Rick James, bitch. Ask Rick James, bitch. That cocaine is a hell of a drug. Even in the YTBC. The B don't exist. Cocaine is a hell of a drug, even for him. You know what I'm saying? Even for him, bro. But man, y'all hold it down. I gotta bounce. So I'll be back on here a little lighter, shouty. Appreciate y'all for pulling up. You do me a favor. Don't forget. You know what I'm saying? The one and only Jahad Tucker's back in the ring. July 1st. The man, the myth, the legend will be back on deck July 1st for his 11th professional contendership. And you already seen it go down what he did to Sek Nashvili. Don't play. If you don't know who he is, that's him right there. Be sure to tune in. Top Rank, Jahad Tucker. Follow him on IG. Who is Jahad Tucker? It's about to go down once again so he can further climb that ladder to get that shot. One of the most exciting sensations in the business, contending at 154 pounds. You already know. Turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports. I'm out.